Okay, here we go. There should really have.
Hello, everybody. I can see people joining our event. Thank you to everybody. Raise my hand the old-fashioned way. It's wonderful to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining our event. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Any issues, any trouble, please post in the chat. Our host is Will. He's going to be helping on that side of things, moderating questions. You can see Will up there waving. I'm hoping we have about 45 minutes for the event today, hoping we can push a little longer if we need to, so we're not in a rush. And to start things rolling, if people want to let us know your name and the city and state or even country that you're joining us from, I think it helps for people to know how many folks there are out there with IBS, how many of us there are hiding in the shadows. We're everywhere. So, you know, I'm in Seattle, Washington, actually Kent, a little bit outside of Seattle. So let me know where you're all joining us from, and it'd be really great to see where people are coming in from. The theme of our event today is really helping to beat the summer heat with IBS. Summer can cause a lot of struggles. It can make IBS flare. A lot of summer events and foods can be really hard on IBS. So what is often people's favorite season and the most relaxing, happy time of year when you're on vacation, you're out of school, you're off of work, can actually be really kind of extra difficult because of IBS. Some of the things that are the happiest, most joyful aspects of summer can actually maybe trigger problems for you. So that's a bummer, and you shouldn't have to live like that. So we're going to try to help you beat those summer struggles today. And if there's something outside of that topic you're just dying to get help with, go ahead and throw that in as well. We'll try to address everything else that we need to help people with. Make sure you feel free to share your own experiences and things that have helped you. I think a lot of times it really helps others to hear what's going on with other people in their same boat, their same situation. There might be tips and tricks you've discovered that you can pass along that will help others as well. So don't be afraid to share what's helped you, what you're struggling with, even if you think it's something kind of silly or a little off the wall, that's okay. Sometimes it's the oddball things that, that really make a difference. So share your story, share your experiences, share what's helped you, what's hurt you. It'll help other people as well, I guarantee it. Let's see. I'm just gonna let people know we got folks coming in from all over here. We have Cindy from Missouri, the state capital. We have Yvonne from San Diego. Ooh, we've got someone from Ontario, Canada. Hello to our Canadians. We've got Jay from Baltimore, Maryland. Oh my goodness, we got people coming in from all over. This is fantastic. Providence, Rhode Island. We've got Vinny from New Hampshire. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. You can see we've got people coming in from all over. You're not alone. Tons of people out there with IBS, so don't feel like it's just you. It's not. Oh my goodness. So I guess a good point I'd like to start with making is that, you know, it's not just your experiences can help somebody else, but everybody's situation is unique. So it's kind of a combination here of the fundamentals for getting stable, staying stable, how to physically manage your gut, because if you have IBS, you have a physical gut disorder. So you have to take control of that. And there's some universals with that, with diet, with stress, how you manage your gut, supplements, medications, that kind of thing. There's a lot of universals. We all have the same gut. If we all have IBS, then our gut is going awry in the same way. But there's a lot of individualities within that, a lot of idiosyncrasies. So don't feel like, you know, even though you're not alone, you're not necessarily identical to the next person with IBS as well. And that's okay. Doesn't mean you don't have IBS. It means that there's a spectrum and symptoms are going to vary. And sometimes things that help and hurt are going to vary. So make sure you key things to what you personally need to manage your IBS. And if you just know or even suspect that something is helping or hurting you, trust your gut. You are almost certainly right. Even if you don't know why, even if there's no logical reason why, even if nobody else can tell you why, so what? There probably is a good reason for it. You just haven't figured it out yet. So listen to what your gut's telling you if you think that something's going to help or hurt. Okay. You alone control your gut and your body and your health and your life. You got to be in control of it or you can't manage the symptoms. Oh, let's see. I would suggest everybody get a cup of your favorite herbal tea in front of you as we settle in for our event. I have 2 cups in front of me. I have the fennel tummy tea and the peppermint tummy tea both because I drink a lot of my teas. So get what you need to be comfortable. I see Vinny up there raising his mug. And I'm going to start off with a couple of the most common questions that came in from the survey. And in fact, what I wanted to start off with first is not so much a question, but a suggestion that came up over and over from folks. There was a commonality here. Something that people found really, really helpful in dealing with the summer heat, especially the extreme summer heat that so many people are going through right now, is to kind of carry things with you. Carry what you need with you. If you have to go out and about, carry your water bottle with you. Put your tummy fiber for the whole dose of the day in your water bottle with enough water for the day. Carry that, take that with you. That's your safety net. Even make some of your helpful herbal iced teas, make your peppermint tummy tea, your fennel tea, whatever works for you. Brew it, chill it down, put that in your water bottle with your tummy fiber and carry it with you. Make sure that you stay hydrated. Make sure that you keep soluble fiber in your gut so that no matter what happens to you that changes your plans and messes you up when you are out and about, you already have your safety net with you. I think that's a fabulous suggestion, and it came up from several people, and I really wanted to pass that on. That's a really good tip. I would adopt that for sure. And then one other question and a topic that came up over and over from people is that the heat's really affecting their gut. They've been stable for a while. They've been doing great. And now they're into hot weather, especially hot, humid weather, which physically affects the serotonin levels in your gut. And suddenly things are not so great. And they're having flares again, and their diarrhea or constipation is coming back. And they're really frustrated because it's not fair. You've been stable, you're on your dose, everything was great. Now it's hot and humid weather and things are just kind of going to heck. What do you do about that? Should you adjust your tummy fiber dose? And yeah, the answer is definitely yes. You had enough soluble fiber in your gut previously 24/7 with your dose to keep motility stable day in, day out. But now you got a wild card. You've got a factor that's upsetting your gut on a daily basis, and that's the hot and humid weather. So you were at a baseline and a nice stable point. You're not there anymore because the world has conspired and now you're dealing with hot, humid weather, and that's affecting your gut. You have to mitigate that. So the way to do that is to gradually work your tummy fiber dose up to the level that you need now in the face of this horrible, hot, humid weather to keep your gut stable again. So whatever dose you're currently at, you've been stable at, add an extra half a teaspoon to your total daily dose every 3 days or so. Gradually work that up. You'll find the new point where you're going to be stable again. And that's going to be your new dose. Just stay there for the summer, stay there for as long as these other factors are affecting you, the weather, other factors, whatever. You can just stay there forever if you want, or if the other factors go away, summer disappears, weather's better, you're more stable, you might be able to stair step your dose back down. Just make your changes gradual so you're never suddenly drastically overwhelming your gut with fiber or pulling it out all at once. You want to be kind and gentle and patient with your gut when you have IBS. You want to coax it and encourage it and reward it. You don't want to try to beat it into submission because you can't fight your body will win. But that is a question that comes up a lot, pretty much every summer. And the answer is yes. If your tummy fiber dose isn't keeping you stable in the face of this hot weather, gradually work it back up until it is. Okay, so I'd like to be able to kind of throw it out there to people and see if we've got any questions coming in that maybe tied to our survey or weren't on our survey or what people really want to be asking about and hearing about today. So let me know. I'm kind of keeping my eye on my chat and I'm watching Will, the host, looking for good questions too. What have we got?
Hey, Heather.
Oh, hello.
Jane Welsh says, I just want to say how successful I've been with the program for over 30 years. Jane, if you raise your hand and you want to ask Heather a question, I can unmute you. Don't be shy, Jane. Okay. And you don't have to say anything.
That's okay.
If everybody just posts your questions in the chat, I'll ping you. I'll say, hey, please raise your hand, and then I'll there. Okay, Hope is raising her hand because I can see her. So Hope, there's a thing on the bottom bar of your Zoom where you can press it and it'll say, raise my hand. And that way I can unmute you. And I'm learning this too. This is our first time using Zoom. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I hope this format works well for us. I like that I can see people and people can chime in with their questions and comments. So let me know what you think about Zoom for the events as well. We tried YouTube for an event and we're really happy with it. So we're hoping Zoom is a better fit. Oh, well, I'm going to jump in because I see an interesting question about powdered electrolytes when it comes to IBS.
Oh, Heather, hold on. Sorry. Hope's raised her hand and
okay.
I unmuted her.
Oh,
so
great.
Hope is in the spotlight. Hi, Hope.
Hi.
Hi.
I have problems with my stomach blowing up after I eat. And then I get usually a back pain from it as well. So any suggestions of what I could do?
Yes. First of all, is this only tied to when you eat? Is it clearly, it's clearly an IBS issue, like the bloating after
My
you eat
stomach
tied to
usually
back pain?
blows up right after I eat. It really, I mean, it's blown up a little bit anyway, but it really blows up after I eat.
Okay,
And
just a wild card for people to know in general. Bloating, especially extreme bloating, bloating tied to back pain in women, that can be a sign of ovarian cancer. So that's one of those kind of wild card diagnoses they need to rule out before they diagnose women with IBS. So just mysterious abdominal bloating, other GI symptoms, especially with the lower back pain. Women want to make sure they've seen an OB/GYN and had ovarian cancer rule out before they accept a diagnosis of IBS. So we're going to assume that it is IBS, and yes, your stomach getting really bloated and distended after eating is a super common symptom, probably one of the most frustrating symptoms. It can often be tied to constipation. For a lot of folks, bloating goes hand in hand with that. So helping the constipation in turn really helps the bloating. A lot of people who have the bloating issue, it's really kind of a gastrocolic reflex issue with IBS, where anything that hits your stomach, food, just plain water, your brain sends a signal from your stomach to your lower gut, and the gastrocolic reflex kicks in. So when something hits your stomach, your lower GI starts contracting. It's kind of your body's way of regulating. You put something in, it's going to let something to go out. And if you have IBS, that goes awry, which should be just a really basic reflex that's working normally, is not. And so it overreacts. And so sometimes you don't even have to eat to set off that bloating. Sometimes it's just having a glass of plain water can set off that horrible bloating. That's a really tough one to overcome, because you have to try to regulate that gastrocolic reflex back to a normal point, and it wants to be dysfunctional if you have IBS. One of the best tricks kind of for helping that sometimes is to not have a lot of liquids with a meal. Separate them, so you're eating, but then you're drinking outside of that time period. That can make a difference for people. Trying to really resolve the constipation can make a big difference if you can gradually work up your tummy fiber dose or soluble fiber dose to the point that it really resolves the constipation. That can tie to the bloating and really alleviate that. You can do proactive things like trying really strong fennel tea, brew it dark, brew it brown. It should be super duper dark. The darker it is, the more effective it will be, the stronger it is. And you try to kind of overwhelm your gut with carminatives like fennel that can actively reduce bloating and also gas. If you've changed your diet and things still aren't working, seeing a registered dietitian to kind of drill down FODMAPs can sometimes be very helpful for bloating, especially if you're sort of left with that symptom. You've got everything else kind of resolved, you're feeling okay, but you just can't get a hold of the bloating. That can be a FODMAPs issue. So you only want to do that with a registered dietitian. You only want to hunt down your specific intolerances, because that's not a blanket exclusion diet where you just take all FODMAPs out of your diet forever and ever and go on. That's not what you want to do. But you may have some specific intolerances in there that you're going to have to deal with that are just kind of going to constantly keep setting off the bloating until you get a handle on that. So that's hopefully helpful.
One more question. I lost a lot of weight and I have to gain weight. And that's a very, very important thing. And I have a lot of problems gaining weight.
That can be hard for IBS. It can be really hard because You can't overeat. That's going to set off your gastrocolic reflex as well. And the most calorie dense foods are fats. They're twice as calorie dense as carbs or proteins. But fat sets off your gastrocolic reflex stronger than just about anything. Fats are really powerful GI stimulants. So you can't just load up on high fat foods to get extra calories without setting off probably a lot of pain and spasms and other symptoms. So get your safe soluble fiber food foundation that will keep your gut calm, and use that so that you can carefully add in your heart healthy fats. So you are getting them, your olive oil, your flax oil, your nut butters, avocado, fatty fish. Keep them always with the soluble fiber foundation. Make sure you're getting your IBS safe proteins as well. So any kind of seafood, skinless chicken breasts, skinless turkey breasts, egg whites are fine. If your gut is used to beans and lentils, soy milk can be a good source of protein. Instant oatmeal, actually pretty decent source of protein. So keep those all up. And then if you have to add empty calories, a safe way to do it for IBS, not super healthy overall, but is just plain sugar, regular old table sugar like sucrose. It is not a health food, right? But it's empty calories, and it's not an IBS trigger or stimulant. It's just sort of a neutral. Don't use fructose, don't use artificial sweeteners, but just regular old white sugar, brown sugar, a little honey, maple syrup. Those are all empty calories. So that can help you gain weight if you need to do that. Do things like sweeten your drinks, have your safe, low-fat, dairy-free desserts. Weight bearing exercise, weight training as opposed to cardio can also help build muscle mass and really help with weight gain as well. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, like you're going to go work out and you lose weight. That's not really the case for things like literally lifting weights, like pumping iron, that kind of work. If you can build your muscle mass, that will help get your weight up there as well. It's tough. You're probably not going to be able to, rapidly pack on pounds and keep IBS safe, but you can make sure that you're getting enough of your heart healthy fats for extra calories and adding in, sugar and desserts and stuff for some extra calories to get you by. That should help. You certainly shouldn't just keep losing weight with IBS. That would be a red flag if you are losing weight without explanation. You want to see your GI doc. There could be other IBS-like symptom kind of disorders like inflammatory bowel diseases that can literally cause weight loss. So if you are having just weight loss, make sure that they have screened you for celiac, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, and there's not something else going on there besides IBS.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Hope. Looks like Vinny, that you're up next. I'm going to click on you so you can unmute yourself.
I see you. Hi, Vinny.
Hi, Will. Hi, Heather. I have IBS-D. My main thing that I'm dealing with is urgency, extreme urgency, trying to get from point A to point B. And I know the more you worry about it, the more it can actually bring it on. I think the next thing I was thinking of trying is the Nerva app with the gut-directed hypnotherapy. I know food can trigger the stuff, but sometimes I'll eat one thing and it'll bother me right away. Then I'll eat the same thing the next week. No problem at all. It's very strange.
Yeah, you are not alone. That's not your imagination. You're not crazy. That happens to just about everybody with IBS. So yes, and there's actually a logical reason why, in terms of why you can eat something sometime and then the next week, like you say, you don't have problems, or vice versa. You had trouble last week and now this week you're fine. What is up with that? And it usually ties into how you're eating more than what you're eating. So it could be things like quantity. Maybe you had a small amount of a trigger food and you did okay with it last week because it was a small amount, because it wasn't an empty stomach. You had a treat for dessert and you already had a good, safe, soluble fiber foundation for your dinner. And you were in a good place. You were home and happy and relaxed, and you hadn't really had any other trigger foods for a while. So your gut did just fine with it. But the next week, maybe you have that exact same food, but now it's on an empty stomach and there's nothing to buffer your gut's reaction. Or maybe you don't have a small amount, maybe you have a little bit more of a generous amount of it this time. Maybe you're away from home and you're at a restaurant eating, so you're a little stressed, as you said. There's other factors going on. So this is where it's not so much what you eat, like it would be with a food allergy where you just might have zero tolerance no matter what, you're going to get violently ill. There's a lot of shades of gray with IBS, and with your triggers, your fats, your insoluble fibers, It's how much of it you're eating. It's how you're eating it in terms of, is it by itself and it's the only thing hitting your gut and affecting that gastrocolic reflex, or are there other mitigating factors? What are the other circumstances? You know, are you relaxed and happy? Are you under stress? Are you eating on the run? What else have you had to eat with it? So if that keeps happening and like, why am I doing okay with this one food, but then I'm not okay with the same darn food? Look at how you're eating it. What are the circumstances by itself? How much, quantity, home, away, what's the weather and stress and all of the other factors? You'll probably able to figure it out that way. And then the second point of your question, just worrying about IBS in and of itself can set off symptoms, is also completely true. Not your imagination. It's not that you are crazy or you're causing it yourself, or man, if you just relax, you wouldn't have these problems. That's not the case at all. IBS is defined as a brain gut disorder for a really good reason, because it is physically your brain as an organ and your gut as a collection of organs that are both going haywire, and they communicate back and forth with each other. And that communication goes haywire when you have IBS. So anything that affects your brain is going to affect your gut, and also vice versa. And there's more and more information and research coming out about this all the time in terms of the gut microbiome and how literally they think that maybe depression arises in your gut and not your brain. So there's this constant, you know, back and forth and interaction. So if you are doing something that has your brain, you know, stressed out and wired up because you're worried about something, you're afraid of something, rightfully so, like you're afraid of getting sick when you're out in the car, out and about and away from your home, that's going to physically affect your gut. And if you have IBS, it's probably going to affect it by setting off symptoms. And now just worrying about getting sick if you leave the house can actually make you sick before you leave the house. And that's a terrible, terrible situation to be in. That's a really vicious cycle that can kind of spiral out of control sometimes for people, and they can end up housebound. It just becomes a cycle they can't break. And now they can't get out of the house because the fear of getting sick once they leave constantly keeps them in the house. So you have found a good solution to that in finding Nerva, which is an iPhone app that's gut-directed hypnotherapy. You can see people in person for that as well. There's a register that's kept of the hypnotherapists in America who are specially trained in, it's called the Paulson Protocol, and it's an IBS specific gut-directed script. So it's not just general hypnotherapy, it's keyed very much to the specifics of IBS. If you can't see someone in person, there is now an app. It's called Nerva, and it's on your phone, and it's sort of an at-home gut-directed hypnotherapy program. It's pretty new. It's really new, actually. I don't have a ton of feedback from people, but it's based on the Paulson protocol. Dr. Olaf Paulson is the guy who created it. So there's no reason that it shouldn't work really, really well. So if you have the option to use the Nerva app, I would absolutely try that. Let me know what you think of it. But I think the odds are very good. You'll have really good results from that. And there's probably 3 decades at least of research at this point on gut-directed hypnotherapy for IBS. And it has such stellar results. They've had researchers come out and say that this should be the frontline approach for IBS, not the last resort. This isn't what you put people towards in desperation. This should be what GI docs are telling people to do upon diagnosis. It should really be your first step. Try gut-directed hypnotherapy. It's the only thing that they have ever found that seems to physically change the way the gut functions and physically change the way the brain and the gut communicate, which is really the underlying pathology of IBS. So I would really urge anybody who has the opportunity to try gut-directed hypnotherapy, run with it. It can't hurt. There's no harm. It can't do anything wrong at all. Odds are really good. It might really, 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 really help you, especially if you have that stress anxiety component where worrying about IBS sets off symptoms. That's the cycle you want to break. And the gut-directed hypnotherapy is probably the best single approach to break that cycle.
Another thing I'm trying through my chiropractor is something called cold low-level laser therapy, stimulating the vagus nerve, which goes from your brain to your gut. That seems to be helping a little bit.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
They know the vagus nerve is implicated in IBS. They don't have a ton of research on that. For some people, it seems to be kind of more of a factor than others. I don't know how treating it like that would affect. I trust your gut on that one. You know, if you think it's helping you, it probably is. If you think like this is making things worse, it might be. So yeah, try it. Let me know how
Everything
that works.
seems to help a little bit, but nothing is really solving it. That's why I think maybe the gut-directed hypnotherapy.
that really has fantastic research, just so much research on it. I mean, it's so well established in the world, just not in America. It's actually a part of like gastroenterology practices in the UK. They have hypnotherapists on staff to do gut-directed hypnotherapy. So it's a really mainstream approach for a lot of other countries dealing with IBS. We just haven't really incorporated into the system in America, but I have nothing bad to say about gut-directed hypnotherapy at all.
Thank you
David,
for your,
Thank you so much, Vinny.
thank you.
We have a couple other raised hands, Heather. And I'm worried
Yes.
that we're not gonna be able to get through everybody.
Oh, sure.
So we're gonna move to Bert. Okay, Bert, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself here. And again, Vinny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Bert, just unmute yourself and you're good to go. Ask Heather your question.
Thank you. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Bert. I know you.
Here's a situation I find myself in during the fall and the winter months. I usually have something warm to drink, either one of the herbal teas, hot almond milk, and I mix my fiber in those drinks at night.
Yeah.
Now, where I live in Charleston, South Carolina, because of the temperature, I don't have a desire to have anything at night to drink, so I don't have my fiber at night. Any ideas?
So you're trying to work in your fiber when you've kind of lost your evening hot drink. Is that right? Kind of lost your timing there. For you, for the summers, and you could keep this year round as well if you want, you might just want to add the fiber to your meals. So if you're still consistently eating breakfast and dinner throughout the summer at the same time, you could just add the dry powder right into moist foods and stir it in. And so at least you know that you're consistently still getting that in your gut, and it's not going to be dependent on having a hot drink at the end of the day. That might be an easier way for you to do it. As long as you get it in your gut, it doesn't really matter if it's with a liquid or with food. It's just the consistency of the timing and your dosage that matters. And you may want to switch too from a hot herbal tea in the evening to something like an iced herbal tea. You could do it with the same tea. I actually do that kind of all summer long. If we get into a heat wave here, I'll make a huge batch of, actually I like the fennel tea iced. I add a little honey to it when it's hot. I brew a really big batch of it, really, really strong, and like a giant 8-cup measuring cup or something. It's huge. And I just let it, steep all throughout the day. And then I put it in the fridge, and then I just pour it down once it's cooled over a glass of ice, and it'll last me a couple days. So I find that a really helpful way to get my good herbal teas in my gut when it's just too hot to have a hot cup of tea. And they'll work whether they're room temperature or hot or ice cold. So you have some flexibility there. Be a little cautious if you're one of those people where you know that you react to ice cold foods or drinks, especially on an empty stomach, because cold makes your muscles contract and your whole gut is smooth muscle tissue. But a lot of people do okay with that, especially when it is hot weather. They really need something kind of cold and icy inside. It'll help them more than hurt them. So if that's you, feel free to run with iced herbal teas. You don't have to have your hot drink in the evening at all, especially when it's hot out. I can see why that's not appealing.
Yeah, it's no, that's a good suggestion. The only thing is the desire to have something to drink at night just isn't there. So,
just too hot.
It's like, okay, I had it when it was cold out and it just seemed like a normal thing to do. And now, even though, I'm in air conditioning and it's not hot in the house, I just don't have the desire to just sit there and have anything to drink at night.
Is making it hard for you to just get enough liquid throughout the day so you're hydrated? Or is it just is it the timing of the day? Like it's just at night so you're fine the rest of the day, or is just the heat is kind of killing your appetite across the board?
No, fine. I have fiber morning, afternoon, dinner. No problem at all. When I drink water, I figured out I was drinking more water when I was going out than I do at home. So now I started carrying water inside the house, which I wasn't doing before. So I'm getting plenty of liquid.
Okay.
It's just that, and I also used to, have cookies with my tea or my almond milk, and I'm cutting back on cookies. So it's also finding something to have with the drink at night.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, when you really don't feel like eating or drinking something, it's hard to make yourself do that. It doesn't usually give you good results. I would say as long as you're getting enough liquid throughout the day, you don't have to worry about the hydration. If it's, that you got to get the helpfulness of the herbs, not just the water in your gut, having them at any other time of the day that works for you, it's all going to still help your gut. And if evenings are just not a great time in hot weather for you to be eating or drinking, that's okay. You might have to kind of adjust your schedule in the summer so that you are eating and drinking when it appeals to you. It might just be a seasonal shift for you. And that's okay. If it works for your gut, that's all that really matters.
Okay.
Hey, Bert, does that help you? Are we ready to move on to the next person, or you have a quick last question?
No, that's that answers. That's the best answer. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I don't have a good solution for that. I wish I did, but
There's-
I know that feeling you're talking about, and I don't know a way to overcome it.
No,
Yeah,
I understand.
he can really, really mess
You
you
can
up.
move on. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bert. Okay, I think Artis was next, but I think Artis lowered her hand.
I
Artis?
see her question.
Yeah. Artis, you want to raise your hand again? Or did you have to jump? Well, there you are, Artis, down from San Jose. Do you want to hi? Do you want to look down on your task? Look down on your taskbar, and there's a button that says reactions. Go ahead and click on that and raise your hand so I can unmute you.
Okay.
Hey, go ahead, Artis from San Jose.
I just had a couple of points. One is that I tried Nerva app and it is absolutely fabulous.
Oh,
It
thank
is
you.
So helpful. It just worked magic.
Good.
But you have to stick with it and you have to do it. Particularly when at the very beginning, I would suggest even doing it 7 days a week. After you've gone through the first bit, maybe a couple months, and you're really feeling much better, then you can, trigger it back to 3, 4, 5 days a week, whatever works for you. And then they also have, and then I got a year program because they helped lower the price for doing it for a year.
Okay.
And you customize which days you want to do it. And then there's an emergency kit. So on those times when the stress is really high, but I've trained myself so that when I feel a stressful situation, for example, a couple of weeks ago, my cell phone, I had some huge spam message and I was just so stressed about my phone and maybe I'm going to lose my photos. And I, right there, you can just feel that whole, the whole gastrocolic thing going with the pain and the stress. And instantly what I do is I have some bone broth and some rice crackers, and then just go right to the Nerva app. It only takes like 15 minutes, settles it all back down again. So I would definitely recommend that. My other question is, I have acid reflux and GERD, and I can't use either peppermint oil or fennel or chamomile.
Okay.
So solutions.
That's okay. You have alternative. And thank you for the Nerva feedback. That's fantastic. I have a feeling I'm going to keep hearing that from people. And the way you're using it is great. Any of the gut-directed hypnotherapy, it's going to have a schedule. It's going to be repetitious. It's not something you do just as a one-off. It's probably going to be like a 3-month program at the beginning where you're maybe doing it every day. It's important to do it that way and follow the schedule. That's how it works. And that's how it physically changes your gut. So Artis is right on the money. If you can use that, follow the directions, follow the schedule, do it the way it's supposed to be done to get the best results. And then once you're done with the program, you can go back and redo it and key the sessions you need for immediate help and all of that. But follow the program as it's meant to be done originally for the best results. And then for your little evening snack here with the rice cakes, that's a great soluble fiber foundation. The bone broth, I'd make sure it's fat-free. You might have better results with like a chicken bone broth instead of a red meat, beef one, or lamb or something. But you have lots of more helpful options for that, for your herbal teas. Even if you can't do peppermint or fennel or chamomile, that's okay. Because really just about all herbs and spices are digestive aids to some extent. Or maybe to an even large extent. So you could try ginger, you could try oregano, you could try caraway, you could try cinnamon or cloves. Really just about any herb or spice that you like, get it in a bulk whole herb form, hopefully as fresh as possible, because it's all about the volatile oils, and then just brew it in a big tea strainer. So whether that's whole cloves and cinnamon sticks, whether that is oregano, which kind of tastes like pizza, but it's weirdly not a bad tea. Caraway is going to be kind of a licorice flavor. Just pick what you like. Really, all of these are going to have benefits in terms of being antispasmodic, anti-carminative. They're going to help with pain, spasms, cramps, bloating, and gas. You can also mix and match any and all of those herbs however you wish. So if you have an herb or spice that you like, odds are you're going to be able to brew it as a tea, and it's going to be really helpful for IBS. So it sounds weird, but use what you like. You know, if that means a cup of hot dill tea, that's okay. It's going to help you.
Okay, I'm reading through the chat and I'm trying to get caught up here a little bit. Hold on 1 second. Patricia says she's from the beautiful Oregon coast. I found Heather over 15 years ago and want to say thanks for all you do for us. I even referred my primary doc to your website. He checked it out and appreciated the referral. I have IBS and GERD.
Yeah.
So things can get complicated with other self. I'm in pretty good shape at this time. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And GERD and IBS come up together a lot. They're not the same thing, and not everybody with IBS has GERD or vice versa. But statistically, people who have IBS are more likely to have GERD than the average person without IBS. A lot of the same strategies help both in terms of keeping your diet low fat, avoiding things like red meat, dairy, deep fried foods, coffee, soda pop, artificial sweeteners. Those are all going to be kind of unfriendly for your upper as well as your lower GI. Kind of one of the big standout, I think, is that peppermint is fantastic for IBS and relaxing the lower gut. But if you relax your upper gut, that can make heartburn and reflux and GERD worse. So for the GERD and IBS combo folks, you're going to be really cautious with peppermint in any form. Fennel is going to be your safety net that actually can actively help heartburn and reflux, also help the lower gut with pain, spasms, cramps. All your other herbs and spices tend to be good for both of them as well. But yeah, watch out for peppermint if you have GERD and IBS. Stick to your fennel, your chamomile, your other herbal teas. And use your soluble fiber. That's going to help both the upper and the GI, so you might really want to have to rely on that.
Heather?
Yeah.
So we got a couple of people asking questions in the chat, and we
Okay.
have some hands raised.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a moment to look at what Jackson's trying to say to me. Let's see.
Vinny, oh, I see Vinny. Common
you
for
hear me?
IBS to affect your back. Yeah, somebody else had mentioned that. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's super common for IBS to affect your back, but it can happen. So your entire trunk is very densely networked with nerves, and pain can radiate. Also, pain from the pressure from bloating and gas can radiate as well. So it could be pain from spasms and cramps that can radiate across to your lower back. Sometimes people find it even radiates down their legs, up their trunk, even into their shoulders maybe, especially if you have a lot of bloating and pressure with that. That pressure can literally rise up in your chest and in your rib cage and affect more of your upper gut. Back pain, not super uncommon, especially if that is tied to like severe pain, spasms, and cramps. Sometimes people feel it radiate. Sometimes they don't really feel it in their lower GI at all. It's just mostly in the lower back. So yes, that can definitely happen. Not to everybody, but I wouldn't say that it's a huge red flag, especially if that's typical for you. It tends to be kind of set with the person. If that happens to you, it probably kind of always happens and affects you that way. So unless that's a brand new symptom for you and now suddenly IBS seems like it's affecting your back, then you'd want to check in with your doc. But if this is just how it works for your body, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who have that same issue. And really, the same treatments will affect it because you want to just stop the GI spasms and cramps that are causing the lower back pain. The one additional thing that sometimes people find helpful is direct heat because it's a muscle relaxant. Again, your whole gut, smooth muscle. If your back is spasming, that's muscle. So something like a hot pack for you directly on your lower abdomen and or right on your back where you're feeling it, that might really help relax the muscles and stop the pain. Worth trying. Can't hurt.
Heather, I'm going to help answer a question here.
Okay.
Got, oops, hold on a second. Okay, a lot of people are asking about tummy tamers. And so I just wanted to answer everybody's question all at once. Our machine is having epic problems. And every time we fix one problem, it's a brand new machine, something else comes up. We're working on it. Hopefully we're going to do another test this week and get this sorted out. We're looking at a week of production and 2 weeks of testing. So we're still about 4 weeks out. I'm really sorry about this. We put a lot of money into this and it's just a real struggle. We're out and we depend on this, but please be patient.
Yeah, we are working on that. There's my big stress factor. Everybody else is under stress from the hot, humid summer. And I'm in Seattle and it's been a beautiful, glorious summer. I hate to even tell people how lovely and perfect it's been out here. But you know, my stress factor has been this incredible difficulty getting our new machine up and running with the tummy tamers. So that has caused me a lot of stress. And I know it's caused you guys a lot of stress because you don't have it. And I am so very sorry about that. Will's kind of underplaying what they've had to do with this brand new, incredibly expensive, complicated machine, which is basically rebuild every single part on it because it's been nothing but one part blowing up, breaking down, just not working one after another. And we actually kind of think that this company sold us a used machine instead of a new one because so many of the parts have simply broken or worn out or turned out to be rusted when they got inside and looked at them. All kinds of problems that you should never ever have on a brand new machine. And at this point, I'm not sure they have any parts left to build. I feel like they have literally bought a brand new car and rebuilt the entire engine and there's nothing left for them to rebuild. There's nothing left that they haven't had to fix and repair. So this last part that was damaged and broke and they had to replace was a bearing, and they still have to get that back on, and then everything else that attaches to it. It's not like you can go to Home Depot and buy any part and put it on the machine. You literally have to have these parts made at a machine shop, which we do in-house for a lot of them. But some things are just too complicated. They have to go out to special machine shops who do special mill work to make these machine and parts. And then you have to get them hooked back up, and there's sensors and pneumatics and other electronics. And it's very complicated just to replace one part, let alone to rebuild the entire machine. So like Will said, I am really, really hoping that finally we can get this up and running next week once this last part has been completely reinstalled and tested. I'm also hoping we're gonna be able to email everybody and give them some kind of an update other than that, you know, yet another part blew up on this machine. I want to get past that point and say, yeah, we got it running. It's working. We're finally able to start making the peppermint capsules, and then we'll have a better ETA because we'll actually be in production and we'll have a more predictable schedule on when they're, you know, be bottled and actually shipping out to people. So I'm hoping really, really soon.
Hey, Heather, thank you for all that, because I'm the one that's trying to fix all this every weekend of my life. And Brandon, our wonderful IT guy, is helping me as well. So we're going to keep at it. Heather, I think a lot of people don't realize that the peppermint tea bags and the peppermint others tummy tamers are meant to be used together. And I don't think they realize that they both do the same thing, but in different ways and different needs.
That's a really good point. Yeah, a lot of people don't. And yeah, they are a good combination of things to use, not at the exact same time, because you'd always want to take your peppermint capsule by itself. So nothing impedes its passage out of your stomach into your intestines, even just a lot of liquid, and not hot liquid, because that could compromise the gelatin. So take that by itself, separate it from everything else. But really what you're getting with peppermint capsules is peppermint oil. That's what's having the active ingredients, is antispasmodic, a painkiller, a smooth muscle relaxant. And the peppermint oil in peppermint capsules is coming from peppermint leaves, which is what you make peppermint tea out of. Our fields of peppermint tea that we have grown for us, they steam distill peppermint leaves and it extracts the peppermint oil, and that's what's in the capsules. So you're basically getting peppermint oil in two different forms, either from tea, which is why you want your peppermint tea to be high volatile oil and large leaf and as little compromise as possible, or you're getting the straight extracted oil in a capsule. That's also why you have to have peppermint oil capsules on an empty stomach by themselves. They've got to be enteric coated. They're so strong, you don't want them to break down in your stomach and give you heartburn by relaxing your upper GI. You don't have to worry about that with real peppermint tea because the peppermint oil is not that concentrated. So you'll get the benefits of it in terms of stopping or preventing pain, spasms, cramps, the smooth muscle relaxing effects of it. It is a carminative as well, but in a more flexible form. So use your peppermint tummy tea when you have a full stomach, when you're going to be eating, when you need help now, like right now, I can't wait. I'm going to black out from pain in like 10 seconds. I need help. You don't want to take a capsule and wait for it to take effect. That's where you want to go right to the tea. So you can mix and match these. I do this all the time. I carry my pep caps with me. I take them before restaurant meals. I take them last thing at night or first thing in the morning. I take them if I know I'm in a rough patch, I'm going to be traveling. I just start taking them when I have an empty stomach. But I use the tea all day long. That's what I have with meals. That's what I have when I'm sitting at my desk, all day long. I'm always drinking my peppermint tea. So use your peppermint kind of in terms of peppermint oil and the way you got to get it into your gut that's most applicable for your situation right now. Do you have a full stomach? Do you need help? I can't wait. Go to your teas. You're just kind of trying to head things off. You're feeling a little dicey, not sure. Go to your teas. If you know you're in a situation where now I got to prevent something bad coming up, mornings are rough and now it's last thing at night, I'm going out to a restaurant to eat. Those are the situations where you have an empty stomach, you have some predictability, you can predict that you're going to have problems coming up. Use your peppermint capsules as a preventative. So the capsules are stronger, a better preventative. The teas work a lot faster, are a lot more flexible. Mix and match throughout your day according to what your gut needs at that time. And right now I'm relying a lot on the peppermint tummy tea because of the cap shortage. So I'm leaning on that more heavily. And definitely that's going to be your backup. If you don't have capsules, make yourself a super duper strong brew it black cup of peppermint tummy tea. You can even use like 2 bags and half a cup of water. Just let it brew till it cools down to room temperature. It's going to be super duper mega strong, unbelievably strong and potent. And that's what you want. Treat it like medicine, not just a nice cup of tea to drink, but something that's actively, going to physically help you.
Thank you, Heather. Something else that folks may not realize is that they're taking advantage of the sale that's going on right now. Our sales, we don't overwork our prices so that we can kind of have this constant sale after sale after sale. Try to be priced competitively and then offer a promotion, maybe twice a year on a product. And then with this sale, if you buy anything in there, you're going to get a max of $9.97 for shipping. So that means if you go and you add some teas to your order, you won't be paying shipping for that. Okay. So there's just some food for thought. That's a way to add tea to your order and not have to pay extra shipping. I think there's a couple people that have been having their hands up and waiting. Carol, are you still got your hand up? Do you still want to ask your question, or Valina? I got a couple people. I'm going to move to G Guido. Did I see your name right? G Guido? Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait, Carol, jump back on. She's next. Hold on. I'm going to ask to unmute you. Okay. Go
Thank
ahead.
you so much. Heather, you're amazing and you're just a gift to the world.
Oh, thank you.
I have very strange symptoms and I don't know what doctor to go to.
Okay.
I get, this has been going on for a couple of years. I get very dizzy and then I burp and it stops. Yes.
You get very dizzy and then you burp. Is that what you said?
Dizziness goes away.
You get very dizzy and then you burp and the dizziness goes away.
Yes. And sometimes it'll just repeat itself. I'll have a dizzy and a burp at 4 in a row. And yes. And I run to the bathroom a lot. So there is IBS. I don't know if it's related. I find a complete disparity in what the doctors and the naturopaths are saying. The doctors are saying, just take pills. The naturopaths are saying, no, clean up your food. And so I've really, really cleaned up my food. One doctor gave me Levsin, and the naturopath said, don't take that. It's an antispasm. You're not spasming. I'm getting no clear cut anything, but these dizzy burps are hysterical and debilitating.
How
And
often does
scary.
that happen? Is this every day?
Every day.
And how much is how dizzy? Like falling down dizzy vertigo or?
Just like, whoa, whoa, what's that? And then it burp and it goes away.
Okay.
Could be a lot of gas. I don't know.
Not a doctor, right? I can't diagnose you. But I would make sure your GI doc has checked your gallbladder for issues. Anything with burping or belching can be gallbladder troubles. So they'd want to rule that out. The dizziness, that can tie into the vagus nerve aspect of IBS. Dizziness, cold sweats, fainting kind of feelings. That's all kind of the vagus nerve aspect of the brain gut disorder.
Well, you're probably right, because I've been having a lot of morning anxiety. I don't know if it's histamine, I don't know if it's high cortisol, I'm not sure what it is.
Boy, the burping is not typical for IBS because it's an upper GI thing.
Oh,
The
okay.
dizziness kind of can be, it's not super typical, but it's for some people, they really consistently, when IBS flares, they have this vagus nerve aspect to it of getting dizzy or vertigo or the cold sweats, passing out kind of feeling, or some people actually do even pass out. But I would make sure they've checked your gallbladder, rule that out for issues. I'm not really sure that I would take IBS as a reason for the burping. And if it's just burping and dizziness and no lower GI symptoms at the same time, that doesn't really fit within the criteria of IBS either.
I beg your pardon?
If it's just burping and dizziness and those are isolated and not in association with the classic IBS symptoms, diarrhea, constipation, lower GI, pain, spasms, cramps, if none of that is happening and it's just dizziness and burping, I wouldn't accept IBS as a reason for that.
Yeah. No, there is urgency. No, there is.
There is urgency. The Levsin is just an antispasmodic. That's an old, safe drug. It's been around forever. You could try it. It's take as needed. I don't think it would help if it's a gallbladder issue. I mean, it might give you a clue if you take that and it helps reduce things, then that's pointing to IBS and a spasmodic issue underlying it.
And gastroenterologist says you have to go in for a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. I mean, is that just overkill? And
it could be. It depends on your age, your symptoms, your family history. At a bare minimum for an IBS diagnosis, you need blood work, because they can't look at you and say you don't have Crohn's, you don't have celiac. You can't do that. They have to do blood work to check for inflammation, to check for antibodies to gluten. So they need to rule out celiac, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. Depending on your age, symptoms, family history, they may need to rule out colon cancer, diverticulosis, diverticulitis. And then it just kind of gets into, are your classic symptoms, are there red flags? Are you a little kid? Are you, 80 years old? They're going to do more and more testing the older you are when symptoms start, or if there's any red flag issues. So you don't need an endoscopy and a colonoscopy across the board for an IBS diagnosis. Particularly on an endoscopy, that'd be upper GI, but I think they're trying to run down the burping aspect with that because that's more upper. I'd ask about Cologuard to rule out colon cancer if that's what they're looking for the colonoscopy for. But I would kind of grill your docs here. Why do you want to do these? What are you looking for with endoscopy? What are you looking for with the colonoscopy? Have you not ruled out inflammatory bowel disease for me yet? Did the blood work not do that? Ask questions. Why do they want to do this for you? What are they looking for? And that, wild card, you could try phenyl T because that can help burping in upper GI as well as lower, and that wouldn't hurt anything.
okay.
Heather,
Yes.
Carol, we're kind of running out of time here.
Oh my gosh.
And I would like to burn through a few more questions from other people. Did I help you, Carol? Can we move on?
Okay.
Yes.
You can always email us or call for support. We have a customer service center here. So anybody here that can get their questions answered, you can always call in. Okay?
Yeah, or email, especially if you need more information, we give you a lot of info in email.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Carol. Hey, when I call on you guys, remember to say where you're from. Okay, it's always fun, to hear from someone in Osaka, Japan, or Bombay, India, or just right down here in Houston, Texas. So I'm going to give you a heads up who's in the queue. We have Valina. You're going to be up next. So give me some indication that you're still waiting to ask a question. And then G. Guido, you're going to be next. And then Rita, Bert, we already helped you. I'm going to pass by you, okay? Because we have some other people that haven't asked a question yet. Sorry about that, Bert. And then we have Jay and Cindy. So what I would ask you guys is to post your questions in the chat. Because if some of you have the same question, then we'll try to answer that question all at once. So we can get through all of you. And let's see, Cindy is the last person with a hand up. We won't be able to take any more questions after that. Okay. Okay. Paulina, I asked you to unmute. There you go. Paulina's up next. Heather.
Okay.
Hello,
Hello,
I'm
hi.
having trouble. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
I wrote to you some time ago about my situation. Thank you, son. Hey, the stuff. All right. Oh, let's see if I can do this so we see each other. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I would like to help the gentleman who had questions on what to drink. I have made kind of what I call a cocktail. I every morning. I use a very large container. I fill it mostly with filtered water. Then I add your tummy fiber. To that, I squeeze in an entire lemon and usually 2 or 3 little mandarins. That's my base. Then to that, I add this cranberry concentrate, a little bit, and a little bit of the tart cherry, and a little bit of the elderberry. And then I add magnesium, 2 forms. This one, which is a citrate, and this one, which I have in bigger quantities as travel, which is a carbonate. Okay, then I make that up during the daytime, and I basically leave it on the counter. And then throughout the day, I just take some of that, add more water to it. If I feel like having something a little bit cooler, I add ice, or I keep these in the refrigerator and I add that for a little sparkle. So that has helped me a lot. But I see IBS as a big puzzle with lots and lots of different pieces. And one of the things that has really helped me tremendously is when I gave up all meat products, especially related to the GERD. My GERD disappeared after I stopped eating red meat completely. It got better when I gave up chicken. It got even better when I gave up eggs. The lower pain and the severe pain all went away by adding the peppermint tea, the fennel tea, your capsules. So all of these for me have really, really worked. And I thank you for providing those pieces of the puzzle that have really solved the problem for me. I thank you and really helping me put together a good life. So that's it for me. I hope it helps someone.
Thank you, Melania. And you're right. I agree with you. That's a good way to look at it. It's lots of little pieces of the puzzle that you got to put together to get the big picture. That's a really good way to look at it. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you so much, Paulina.
Okay, bye.
Okay. G. Rita? What's your first name? G.
Hi, Gina. My first
Gina.
name's Gina. I'm
Hi,
from Long
Gina.
Island. Hi, I'm from Long Island, New York.
Ah,
I want to thank you, Heather, because I've emailed you numerous times and you always get back to me. I really
Aw.
appreciate it. You've helped me a lot.
good.
My question was, I really think I've come to the realization that I don't have IBS constipation as much as I have a redundant colon,
Oh, yeah.
and your fiber has been really, really helpful. And I do what you said at the beginning of the session, where I fill a water bottle up and I put the whole amount for the day in there, and I
Yep.
sip it throughout the day, and it's been like really life-changing.
Perfect.
My question though is there a place for the electrolytes? Like somebody mentioned, maybe putting electrolytes in there, but then I don't want to overdo it if I don't need it. What's your opinion on that?
Just straight electrolytes, you should be fine. Can't hurt you.
Okay.
Watch out for commercial products that have electrolytes in them. It's the other stuff they add that could get you. So one kind of safe form of that seems to be coconut water, not coconut milk or coconut cream or solid, solid coconut's really high fat, but coconut water is basically fat free, but it has a lot of natural electrolytes in it, and there's really nothing in there that would upset IBS. You can also just eat a banana. That's actually a really good way to get electrolytes, and it's soluble fiber, so even better. I just would avoid anything like your sports drinks and your Gatorade, even things like Pedialyte. Read the ingredients, because oh my gosh, they can put so much stuff in there that will upset your gut. So the electrolytes good, the other stuff they might add to electrolytes bad. And Gina, you mentioned a really interesting point here, that you have a redundant colon. That comes up a lot with so many people, and they don't even know that they have it. A redundant colon, or a tortuous colon, is another name for it. It's when literally your colon is just too long, or it's too twisty turny. And so the end result of that is your transit time is too long. It's like your gut is a track, and you have extra lengths of track, or lots of whirls and swirls in your track, and it takes too long for things to pass all the way through your gut. So the end result of that is constipation. And a lot of people with redundant or tortuous colons get diagnosed with IBS when they really don't have it. They just have kind of a motility disorder because they have too long of a colon. It takes too long for things to go through. So usually the big difference between the redundant colon and the IBS is pain. If you have chronic constipation, but you really don't ever get the lower GI pain, spasms, and cramps, that really doesn't fit an IBS diagnosis. And if you've had this problem your whole entire life, and your parents tell you, yeah, you were constipated from the day you were born, it's probably not IBS. It's probably redundant or tortuous colon. It's worth asking your GI doc about that. They probably have to do a colonoscopy to identify it. Probably not worth it to have it done for that. But if you've had a colonoscopy, they might not have bothered to tell you that you have this. So give them a call and ask. Yeah, they don't even tell you. It's ridiculous. So you don't have IBS, which is a bonus, but you do have a redundant or tortuous colon that's never going to go away. And the end result for most of those folks is they have to gradually work up to a really high end of the dose of their tummy fiber or their soluble fiber supplement, because you just need so much of it in your gut 24/7 to force that normal motility and to regulate the water content. You're just going to end up on the extreme end of kind of the scale for that. And constipation is the high end anyways. That's okay. As long as you gradually work up your soluble fiber dose, you may well end up on like 20, 30, maybe 35 grams a day total. Get there slow.
I do 6 tablespoons, so it's around that area, like 35, 40. Yeah.
You are
It's
one
fine.
of those people. Yeah,
It
and you're not
works.
alone. And that's just what it takes. And that's really the only way I know how to resolve that and regulate it and keep people off of the laxatives and drugs. You don't need that with a tortuous or redundant colon any more than you really do with IBS. But you do have to gradually work your dose up. Anybody listening who thinks this is them, don't suddenly be Gina and start taking 6 tablespoons of fiber a day from, nothing. You don't want to do that. You want to go from 0 to 30 grams a day. That's not great at all. It's just going to give you bloating and gas. But you may have to work up gradually, steadily, slowly from 0 grams to 30, 35 grams a day on top of your dietary fiber, which is okay. It'll resolve the problem, but it's actually not IBS. And you could have both. You can have a redundant colon and IBS, and that can be dealt with too.
Again, thanks for all your help. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Gina. Good story. That was a good one. That'll help people.
Thank you, Gina from Long Island. Did I get that right? Long Island?
Yeah, Long Island.
All right. So Rita, you're going to be next. I'm going to have you unmute.
Okay. I'm unmuted.
All right, Rita.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I live in foothills of Los Angeles, La Crescenta area.
Uh-oh.
So
Wow, did you see the bear that was in someone's backyard getting
bears
cool?
are in people's hot tubs all the time. And they're so funny because they put their little arms out and they get all down in the hot tub.
They relax into it, right?
They really relax into it. So I've been using Tummy Timer for a long time and I really like it. My cat had some digestive issues. We discovered he has sensitive stomach. So he gets a little bit of Tummy Tamer, just a little light sprinkling on his food, his wet food, and it helps him too. So I thought I'd just share that.
That's great.
What I really wanted to ask you about is I have gotten really good results from my IBS diarrhea from acupuncture and herbs that my Chinese doctor provides for me. I literally call them dirt balls because they look like dirt and they smell like dirt.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
They help to bring things together and reduce the liquid wateriness in my stool. And I've been on some of your programs. I've been with Kelly Clever, and I really never hear anyone talk about acupuncture. I get needles in my belly to help with circadian rhythms, and then I take these herbs, and along with the tummy tamer. And I just thought I would share with people that are on the call today that, acupuncture can help.
It can, yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that will help other people. Yeah, there's not a ton of clinical research on acupuncture for IBS. What there is, I've tried to put on the site or in the research library, but it can't hurt. That's the lovely thing about acupuncture. It can't do anything wrong. There's a lot of research on it helping a lot of other things. So just because they don't have great studies on it for IBS yet, is probably just because they haven't really looked at it in depth. There's not enough information out there. But there's no logical reason it wouldn't really help. A lot of people like you have found that it does really help. It's certainly worth trying. I've had really good luck with acupuncture for some non-IBS things, and would really recommend it as an option for people. There's no downside to it. So yeah, if it's helping you, stick with it. If acupuncture is a local option for you and you have some good practitioner recommendations, it's well worth a try. Worst case, it just won't help. It won't make anything worse, and it might really make a big difference for you with IBS or other things.
Uh-oh, you just froze up. Can you hear me? Oh, Heather.
Hold on, guys.
Oh, there she goes.
Technical difficulty. Hold on.
Will's live and active.
While they're fixing that little problem, we have Jay up next.
I have one more thing to share.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, Rita. Hold on 1 second. I'm just queuing people up here. So Jay, be ready. Cindy and Chrissy. You guys, because we're running out of time, just try to keep the question really concise so we can burn through these and get to everybody. Okay.
One more thing.
And one more thing, Rita.
Yes.
By the way, if this is helpful to you, you guys who go on TikTok and post a review, that would really help us a whole lot.
Okay.
This is tough. We're a very small company competing against giant conglomerates that are shoving products out there to people that are not really doing what we're doing here with these one-on-one meetings with you guys like this. So a TikTok review could really help us keep this business working. Okay, Rita, your turn. Go ahead.
I've also been using a tea. It's called Throat Coat. It's actually for sore throats, but it's slippery elm, and it also has a very soothing quality in the gut and in the intestines. And I would just share that as well when you talked about herbs and herbal teas. Slippery elm is done a really good job for me, and I'm not a tea fan. So it's something I can tolerate the taste of. So anyway.
Okay. Yeah, slippery elm goes way back. Totally safe, no downside to there. And it is, like you said, it's a coating. So can't hurt IBS. Not everybody finds it super effective for that, but it can really help things where you have sort of inflammation as a factor, or gastritis. It's a calming, coating kind of thing, ulcers, that kind of thing. And again, if you're dealing with that, it's not going to make IBS, better. So anything that you can do to help mitigate these other factors will likely calm down the IBS as well. So yeah, use your slippery elm. No downside there.
That's all for me. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Rita. Okay, next we got Jay.
Nope.
All right, Jay.
Losing?
Spotlight's on you. What you got? Where are you from? Okay, so Jay might have ran to the kitchen for a minute. So while waiting for Jay, we're gonna go to Cindy. Okay, hold on a second. Cindy, I'm gonna unmute you.
Well, I echo everybody saying thank you a million times. And since we're pressed for time, I won't give you my whole history, but back in November, I started having extreme chest pain, back pain. They said, oh, you need your gallbladder out. I had my gallbladder out, didn't solve anything. So I had a million tests, and I feel like it is the IBS, and you addressed that. I came in late about chest pain radiating to the back. I was diagnosed supposedly with something called functional dyspepsia, and they want me to go on amitriptyline, which I don't want to do. So you had sent an email saying that cannabis has been shown to be great with pain. And can you just talk about that a little, and maybe what kind of cannabis?
Sure. That's getting a lot more publicity. I'd like to see a lot more research on it. There's not a ton so far. And you're gonna have to key this answer to your own state, because things are different from state to state. So in Washington state, we have had medical marijuana legal for a long time, maybe over a decade, I'm not sure. And it's recreational now for years as well. So other people in other states might not have the same kind of access that we have. But your primary components that they've analyzed with cannabis would be the THC and the CBD. And the THC is the factor, the psychotropic aspect that like makes people high. But THC is also really the antispasmodic factor versus the CBD, which people are hearing a lot about now, the CBD gummies, and CBD has become very popular. CBD is, you can extract it from hemp as well as from marijuana. So people in states where they don't have legal marijuana can get hemp CBD. But CBD looks like it has better anti-inflammatory properties and really is helpful with inflammatory pain. So things like arthritis, or maybe inflammatory bowel disease, where it's inflammation causing the pain. And IBS by definition is not inflammatory. If they find inflammation, that would actually preclude that diagnosis and point them somewhere else. IBS is a motility disorder. It's not a disease. There's no inflammation, no infection, nothing structural. So it's a dysfunction where you're trying to manage symptoms, and it is literally defined as a spasmodic condition because it's the muscle spasms of your gut that cause the symptoms. So for people with IBS and spasmodic pain, the THC side of cannabis may actually be more helpful and effective for that pain. There's so little research on all of this, particularly specifically with IBS folks. It's going to be a little trial and error. So I would follow the general rules for this. Always start low and start slow. Start at the lowest dose, go slowly with your increase. If you have medical marijuana in your state, you might want to try to find a practitioner, somebody who works with that, and ask for their recommendations. There's all different formulations now for the gummies or for the vaping.
That's why I'm asking. There's like a million.
There's
It's
a
like
million
probiotic.
formulations.
What's the best probiotic, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. And particularly with this, because there's no national standard, and what's in one state is not what's in, the next state. You might want to kind of pick the brain of somebody at a dispensary if they, deal with the medical side of things. There's no harm in trying like a CBD gummy or something that's from hemp. It can't hurt you. You could see if it helps you. I don't know if it's going to help as much with spasmodic pain as the THC side of things. And then you're going to be dealing with the side effects because it's going to make you loopy. But it's something I would tell people is definitely a weapon in their arsenal, particularly the people who get the severe, violent, spasmodic pain where nothing helps them and they are doubled over and they can't move and they can't breathe and they can't wait for help. Those are the people who can have really good results from the THC. They can have really good results from fast acting forms like inhalants or sublinguals, where gummies just aren't an option. When you're passing out in the bathroom, you really don't have time to chew a gummy and swallow it when you're vomiting from pain and waiting for that to kick in. So I would try it.
I just want to add that I do drink like probably quarts of the fennel tea,
Of fennel tea. And that can't help you, and it won't interact with cannabis or anything.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I do a lot of, I do the heat, the yoga. I mean, like, I do everything.
You do everything else. I mean, I would experiment.
I do not want to do the amitriptyline. I just don't want to go on.
I don't blame you. And if you do get into those kinds of drugs, again, they're supposed to go very low dose when they're dealing with IBS for that. Those are drugs you have to take every day. They take a while to kick in. You can't come off of them cold turkey.
And the side effects.
The side effects are not great. Yeah. I mean, I would, if
and I don't
need
like
it,
thank God.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't need it all the time. CBD, you can I'm having a really lousy day, so you pop a gummy or inhale or whatever. But I was just
that's right.
So
Yeah.
like, what's the best one? But, you know, you sort of verify, just go talk to somebody.
Go
start
talk to
low,
somebody,
easy.
start low, start slow, and try like an isolated CBD. See how you do with that. And if that doesn't work, maybe try an isolated THC, see how you do with that. You know, you're gonna have to compare and contrast, maybe a combination. It's tough to draw that down, but yeah, I think personally, I would take that as an option over the amitriptyline, particularly if you don't need the drug day in, day out. Why take a drug day in, day out? If you can use something as needed and then you're good for a while, I think that's a much better way to use medications.
For anybody with IBS to take
Yeah.
amitriptyline, if you read the side effects,
Yeah.
they're the common ones are brutal.
Yeah, it's not my favorite drug. So yeah.
Right, Cindy,
Yeah.
we're gonna push on to
And
Chrissy
thank
if
you.
you don't mind.
Oh,
we can
thank
get
you,
Chrissy
Cindy.
and Sherry in, okay? Okay, Chrissy, I'm gonna unmute you. And Cindy, thank you so much for the tips, and Sherry.
Hi,
Hey, Chrissy, where are you from?
I'm Chrissy from Long Island, New York. Sorry, like I know everybody knows where it is.
We know where it is.
I've been diagnosed with IBS since about 2008, and at that time I was probably about 25 pounds heavier than I am now, and you know, I was eating meat also at the time, and you know, the doctor didn't really suggest much except, oh, he said to me that are you having relief when you have a bowel movement? And like, that's what it came down to. And I said, yes, you know, and my bowel movements aren't regular. So then I tried to work my diet to make them more regular, include fiber in it. And then I noticed that meat and things like pasta and rice all slowed me down. What I do notice now, you know, so now I found your IBS first year, and I ran with that. You know, a friend of mine from work turned me on to that, and I ran with it, and I'm down 25 pounds. I exercise every day. I read the thing about vigorous exercise, you know, and I run every day. I get up at 10 to 3 every morning before I go to work, and I don't mind doing it so much because I feel the benefits of it, but I still have bowel issues, discomfort. And I don't think I'm constipated because my bowel movements don't, you know, indicate that to me. But the I guess the peristaltic movement doesn't seem to be there unless I run, you know, and I'm wondering what more can I do? I've incorporated the fiber. Actually, I just bought a case of it because you're sale, and you know, that's helped. I mean, I know when I have stress that, you know, things are definitely different in my bowel habits and stuff. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe what more can I do, you know? And I also have GERD too. So I have your peppermint tummy teamers, but I can't take them as much. And so I take Gas X on a regular basis and Tums, you know, just to, and I do the small meals throughout the day, you know, and I stick to the basics of, you know, what I know works for me. And for the most part, you know, every day I'm okay with it, you know. But then there are days where, I'm not okay with it.
You
I just
are
don't
doing
want to have to
everything
run
right.
every friggin' day.
Yeah, no, you're doing everything right. And you might be one of the wild card people where there's a redundant colon issue going on. So, you know, you just constantly have to take these measures every single day to stay on top of the constipation, or, you know, it gets you. What's your current tummy fiber dose? What are you taking on a daily basis?
I just upped it. I'm doing 1.5 teaspoons in the morning, 1.5 teaspoons in the evening.
Okay. Well, so really good news. That's a super low end of the dose range, particularly for constipation. So I think probably you just don't have enough of it in your gut to regulate motility to the point that
Can I just stop you 1 second? Because I with when I think sometimes that I had constipation, but isn't it the stool needs to be a certain consistency, and it's not. It's just, it doesn't seem to move through my colon. You know, and I forget, I might be wrong on that, but that's what I always thought.
No, that you can definitely feel it that way, that the movement is not right? Because it's not. IBS is a motility disorder, right? So you should have smooth, normal peristalsis and contractions and a normal, stable, rhythmic function to your gut with everything moving through regularly, calmly. It shouldn't be irregular contractions. It shouldn't be too slow or too hard and too fast. And that's really what causes the symptoms of IBS, that irregular motility. So you're trying to use soluble fiber to force that motility beat to be normal, stable, rhythmic, and also to regulate water content in your gut. So if you don't feel like bowel motility is normal, or the stool isn't normal, or you don't feel normal, you're still having pain or spasms or cramps, that's usually kind of an indication you don't have enough soluble fiber in your gut 24/7 to force that motility to be normal, because your gut's not doing it on its own. You have IBS, or maybe you have a redundant colon. You need something else to gently force your gut to have that normal motility. So you're on a really low dose of soluble fiber for that. Sometimes people who just have extreme urgency diarrhea end of things would stabilize at a low dose like that. But even those folks might end up having to work up. You would be someone I would expect you to get more to the 3 to 5 tablespoons a day total range.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't mean you jump to that, or that's, a goal to get as high as possible. But I would keep up everything you're doing, keep up the running, that's really helping, and just start adding an extra half a teaspoon of tummy fiber per day, every 3 days or so, and work that up. My guess is that as you get closer to 2 and even maybe to 3 tablespoons a day, you should really see everything kind of smooth out. And that's what you want to see, improvements as you go. If you see that improvements as you work up, you want to keep gradually working up until it goes from improving to like, oh, I feel normal. I feel stable. I'm realizing like, I haven't thought about this in a couple of days. I really feel like I've hit a stable point. Everything is just good. That's the final dose where you want to stay. So if you're not at that point yet, it means you want to keep gradually working up your dose until you are. And then that's the final dose where you stay.
Do you think then that maybe I could slow down, as not have to do as much running then, if that's the case?
I mean, maybe it's kind of it's a juggling act. So running, especially the aerobic, right? That's really stimulating your gut and making those muscles speed up. The adrenaline's coursing through your body. Everything is going faster, not just your heart rate, but your gut contractions as well. So that's going to be helpful for you. If you pull that factor out, then you may need more of some other factor. You may need more of a tummy fiber dose. If you're a redundant colon person and not an IBS person, where you don't get the pain and the spasms and cramps, you could have more flexibility with insoluble fiber to help constipation. IBS folks got to be more careful with it than the redundant colon folks, but insoluble fiber is a GI stimulant versus soluble fiber as a regulator. So you're always trying to balance them with IBS. Redundant colon people can run a lot more in the insoluble fiber direction.
Got it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
This has been excellent.
We're gonna move to our last question, and this is Sherry Davis. Where are you from, Sherry? I'm gonna ask you to unmute here in a second.
Go ahead and unmute yourself on.
Me or Sherry?
Yeah, Sherry.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Hi there. Thank you so much for taking my call. Heather, I was diagnosed with IBS-C probably about 3 months ago.
Okay.
However, I've been constipated as long as I can remember, off and on. I was a professional model, so I wasn't eating properly, and I was doing that throwing up when I would eat, so I wouldn't gain weight and be fat and all those, negative things that come along with being a model. But so I was having just recently, then when I was diagnosed with excruciating pain in my stomach and in my abdomen, and I was very nauseous. So then I had my primary care recommended me to see the gastroenterologist, and then he decided that we would do a colonoscopy and an endoscopy at the same time so he could see what was going on in the colon. And both the colon and the endoscopy were very clear. So there was no blockage there causing this severe constipation. So then my primary care recommended the FODMAP diet. So then I went on the FODMAP diet, and I guess it's helped a little bit, just identifying triggers. And then I came across Heather's Tummy Care that I absolutely love. I've just received my packets of the Tummy Care tea, both the fennel tea and the peppermint tea yesterday. And then I received the fiber probably 3, maybe 2 weeks ago. So I'm just now increasing to 1.5 teaspoon. But the constipation has not stopped. So I guess my question is, would I take the laxative just to get something going? And then my second question is, on the FODMAP diet and then your cheat sheet, Heather, some of the items on FODMAP says that to avoid, and then on the cheat sheet, it seems to be okay. So should I not do this FODMAP diet and just stay with your cheat sheet, because I'm confused to see what's going to be working for me? Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. Okay, 2 really good questions and kind of in-depth info for both of those. So if you have constipation, if you've been using laxatives and you're adding in the tummy fiber, trying to switch tummy fiber, then yes, you may have to keep using laxatives in the meantime, because your bowels get dependent on laxatives. Even, you know, the natural ones like senna or aloe internally, they're still laxatives, just like drug laxatives, like your Miralax or something. They can all cause GI side effects. They can all cause bowel dependency. You're not going to be able to just suddenly go cold turkey on laxatives or never use laxatives again if you've been using them just by adding in fiber. You're going to have to make a transition. So yes, if you need to use laxatives in the meantime, that's fine. Use as little as you can get away with, as less frequently as you can get away with. As you gradually work up your tummy fiber dose, you should be able to gradually decrease the dosage and the frequency of the laxatives. It's kind of like a seesaw. So you're sort of gradually, slowly tipping it from the laxative side to the tummy fiber side. It can take a couple of months for that transition. That's okay. Yeah, I know. I wish it could be overnight. You're going to probably end up on a higher end of the dose range. Constipation typically does. So you may be the 20 to 30 grams a day person, but you're starting with just 2 grams a day. So you can't just suddenly jump to that high end of the dose range. Fiber is by definition indigestible. It'll just overwhelm your gut. You got to get your gut slowly, gradually used to more fiber. So I would think of it as a road that you're walking down and you're headed in the right direction. And you just have to keep walking down that road, and things will get better as you go. Use laxatives as you need to in the meantime. You can also email us. There's a great big article on the site about making this transition that walks people through it. So yes, nutshell, you probably might have to use laxatives in the meantime, but you will not have to keep using them, because as you gradually work up your fiber dose, you will gradually work off of the laxatives, and eventually you won't need them at all anymore. That's just a process. It's not overnight. It's not a, you know, apples to apples exchange. It's a process. You got to go in the right direction and keep going until you get there. And we can help you with that. And a lot of people go through that, so you're not alone there. And then the FODMAPs issue. So FODMAPs, it is not a blanket exclusion diet. It is a diet that is supposed to only be done with a registered dietitian who knows FODMAPs. Not all RDs do. And it's a process of finding your specific intolerances, if any.
I can't hear Heather.
Oh, you lose me? Can you hear me? Okay. So you want to work with a registered dietitian, and a doc should have told you this. You shouldn't have a doc just hand you like a list of high FODMAPs foods and go, here, don't eat these ever again. That is exactly how you should not do the FODMAPs diet. They should send you to a registered dietitian who knows IBS and who knows FODMAPs specifically. It's a special area of dietetics. And then they would work with you for about 12 weeks. And it's an exclusion diet where they then reintroduce the different category of high FODMAP foods to try to find what intolerances you have, if any, and to what degree. And you might not have any, because about 1/3 of people with IBS have 0 FODMAPs intolerances, and it is a useless diet for them. If it is a helpful diet for you, they need to find out how it's helpful. Are you sensitive to polyols or fructans or galactans? To what degree are you sensitive to these? How much can you reintroduce these foods so you don't end up with a really unhealthy diet? So I would look at our IBS diet cheat sheet as sort of a foundation that's going to be kind of universally applicable to everyone with a human gut, because soluble fiber is a bowel motility regulator, whether you have IBS or not. Insoluble fiber is a GI stimulant. Fat is a GI stimulant. Alcohol, artificial sweeteners, coffee, they're GI irritants. these are true for everybody walking around who's a person. It's just that if you're a person with IBS, those factors are going to impact your gut to a drastically higher degree. You're going to overreact to normal stimuli. You're going to overreact to irritants. So that's a way to get a good baseline. Get your soluble fiber foundation, which will regulate motility, resolve diarrhea and constipation, keep things calm, stable, motility normal. Use that safe foundation to build upon with your insoluble fiber foods. You've got to have all those fruits and veggies and the beans and the nuts and the whole grains, but you got to be careful with how you have them. This is where how you eat can make a big difference. And then you have to add in your small amounts of your heart healthy fats, your IBS friendly proteins. So that's kind of a universal guideline for everybody. And for a lot of people with IBS, that's all they need. That's all the dietary info and changes they need to really get a handle on things. If you make those changes and you have this baseline and you're still having trouble, particularly on the bloating and gas side of things, I would add in looking into FODMAPs to see if you have some specific intolerances that are setting you off. Work with the registered dietitian to try to identify those specific FODMAPs and then take those out of your diet. So I would think of the FODMAPs as kind of like a cherry on the sundae. You got to get your sundae made first, and then maybe you don't need the cherry, but you might be somebody who does, but it's got to be done the right way. They have to find your specific FODMAPs and tolerances, the exclusion, the reintroduction. It is never, ever just a blanket exclusion diet. So if you do end up with FODMAPs and tolerances, it's going to be unique to you and not something that the person with IBS next to you is necessarily going to have to follow in the same way or have any of the same intolerances. So that's why it can look like there's conflict between the basic like IBS diet cheat sheet versus specific FODMAPs and tolerances.
Hey, Heather.
Yeah.
We're gonna get closer to wrapping up.
Yeah.
Sherry, did Heather help you? Are you good to go? Oops.
Sherry, you muted yourself. So go ahead and unmute yourself. Just look for that by the speaker in the bottom left corner of your taskbar. It'll say mute, unmute. Sherry, if you're good to go, just wave at me. Okay, and that'll work. All right, good. Thank you so much. Hey, Heather,
Yeah.
Jay Finglass has been in the queue, and I tried to call him up, but I couldn't hear him, and he posted and said, I don't know why I was not unmuted. So I'd like to try to squeeze Jay in, but I texted him and I didn't hear back. Jay, are you out there?
Yeah, can't see me now.
Maybe Jay left.
Okay.
So what I want to do is kind of wrap things up. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Jay, if you're out there and you still want to ask a question, just raise your hand and while I'm wrapping up, okay? So first of all, I first have to say, I'm on a lot of groups in the work that I do, and I never see this many people stay on this long. So this is telling me a lot. This means that this was really helpful for everybody. If that's true, just wave your hand and say, yep, this really helped. All right, good. It helps us to know that this is helpful to you.
Helps me.
It was really great to meet you guys too. There, a bunch of people are starting to, bring their camera in. Thank you so much. Your support is the single reason why we exist. Okay, so if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. So everything you can do to help us, like posting a review on TikTok, boy, would really help us out a lot. Let's see here. There, I put a link to the sale in the chat in case you missed it. Okay, it's a good deal. All right, we have an ongoing discount on our website to try to help with shipping, and then we added an extra discount on there. The case is the best deal. You'll save a lot of money if that's something you can't afford. The 3 pouches are there for you. Heather, let's see. I hear this kind of resounding theme about meat. So maybe you could close up by talking about meat. And I think a lot of people don't realize that meat doesn't have any fiber in it. And there's a big problem no matter what kind of meat you eat. So maybe we talk a little bit about meat and why it's such a big problem. It's not that we're anti-meat, it's just that meat doesn't have fiber. And it can really cause problems with motility, and also it's high in fat, the bad fat. And so it's a big trigger as well. And there's a reason why Heather found tummy fiber, okay, why it's pure soluble fiber. What do you think, Heather?
That's a good question to wrap up on. Yeah, red meat's hard for a lot of people to give up. You know, they love their burgers and their steaks, and I understand it's not easy to give up foods that you love. But that's a pretty hard one to keep in your diet. By definition, only plants are going to have fiber. Fiber is literally a part of plant cellular walls. So it's not a part of animals' cellular walls. So there's going to be no such thing as an animal product that has fiber. It's all going to be plants. So yes, if you're eating red meat, the proteins in red meat are hard to digest just in general, whether you have IBS or not, on the gut. It's a really high fat content food, a lot of saturated fat, which is extra hard on the gut. So it can set off spasms, cramps, diarrhea, constipation. It can just kind of, you know, set off a whole ball of wax when it comes to IBS, because it's got really nothing in it except elements that are going to upset your gut, and nothing in it that's a mitigating factor there. So if you can at least experiment with taking red meat out of your diet, and think of red meat as any animal that has 4 legs. If it's got 4 legs, it's red meat. So if it flies or it swims, you're safe. So chicken, turkey, other poultry, if it's white meat only, again, dark meat, too high fat. No skin, too high fat. So white meat only, skinless chicken breast. Any kind of seafood is going to be way easier on your gut. So you can get plenty of proteins, but try to do it without the red meat. Odds are that's going to be a really big factor that will help you out probably right away. That's something where when people pull it out of their diet, they notice it within the first couple of days. So yeah, the more you can do to get red meat out of your diet, the easier your diet is going to be on IBS and the special gut conditions that you're dealing with. That's a big one, and it comes up a lot. And I'm sorry to tell people that that's a hard one to give up. Coffee's another one that's really hard on your gut. That's tough to give up. But yes, if you can avoid the red meat, it's going to help everything from constipation to diarrhea to bloating, gas, spasms, cramps, pain, all of that. And we can help you find good subs. There's ways to work around it. You don't have to totally give up, you know, your burgers and your hot dogs or your ground beef or something. There's a lot of substitutes that you can do, a little kitchen sleight of hand, and still get good food and beefy tastes and that kind of thing, but without really violently disrupting your gut. So I hope that's a good note to end on. So hopefully it's a happy spin on an unhappy topic for some people. And I would like to thank everybody for coming today and participating. It was really nice to see you all. I hope we gave you a lot of help here with the summer struggles with IBS, and also we kind of spiraled off into other topics. So that's okay. That hopefully was helpful in those areas as well. And yeah, one last reminder, the tummy fiber sale is going to end Friday, midnight Pacific Standard Time. So take advantage of that if you can. And thank you once again to everybody. We hope to keep doing these live events a lot more often. And I hope this one helps you get through the rest of your summer, stay more stable, keep your gut calm, happy, in a good mood. And maybe the summer will ease up as well, give you easier weather, make all of that a little nicer for you. And I hope to see you all again at our next event. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, guys. Really nice seeing you guys. We get emails from you all the time, and Heather's sending out emails like every day. She just lives and breathes this. So it's nice to finally meet you in person.